My name is Eileen, and I am 57 years old. For the last 32 Christmases, my home has been the heart of our family's celebration. I am a widow, and my only son, David, and his children have been my entire world. This year, a week before the holiday, I was in my kitchen making gingerbread when I overheard my son and his wife on the phone. They were not talking to me. They were talking about me. And they were planning to turn my Christmas into a free babysitting gig for 5 children without even asking me. The casual way they assumed my time and my home were theirs to command broke something inside me. Sitting in my cold car outside their house afterward, the Christmas lights blurring through my tears, I realized something had to shift. But before I tell you about the shift, tell me, where are you watching from today? Let me know in the comments below. And if you are settling in for a story about reclaiming your own time and setting boundaries with family, please hit that like button and subscribe. This journey is a quiet one, but it changed everything. The quiet in my house after I drove home was heavier than any silence I had ever known. I put the unfinished gingerbread house in the refrigerator, the sweet smell suddenly cloying and sickening. For hours, I just moved from room to room, touching things as if to prove they were still real. The embroidered stockings on the mantel, one for each grandchild, each stitch placed by my own hands years ago. The small ceramic angel my husband Frank gave me the year David was born, its paint faded from a lifetime of careful handling. My home, my sanctuary, the place I had always defined by its warmth and welcome, now felt like the set for a play where I was the unpaid, unappreciated stagehand. The hurt was a physical ache, a cold stone right beneath my breastbone that made it hard to draw a full breath. It was not just the babysitting, it was the casual entitlement in David's voice. She lives for this, as if my joy was a convenience for him, as if my identity was just grandma, a function to be utilized, not a person with her own desires, her own need for rest, her own right to a peaceful holiday. I thought the pain of losing Frank would be the deepest of my life, but this was a different kind of grief. This was the grief of realizing the story you believed about your family was just that, a story you told yourself. The reality was far more transactional. I sat in Frank's old armchair, the one that still holds his shape, and I let the tears come finally. They were not loud sobs, but a quiet, steady stream of mourning for the role I thought I played, for the respect I assumed was a given. The room grew dark around me, the cheerful twinkle of the Christmas tree lights in the corner, feeling like a mockery of the darkness growing inside me. That confirming phone call came 2 days later, slicing through the fragile peace I was trying to build. David's tone was so light, so breezy, it was like a knife. "Hey, Mom, just a heads up, Chloe's sister Beth and her 3 are flying in too. Can you believe it? All the cousins together under one roof. It'll be chaos, but you love that, right? A full house." He chuckled, a sound that used to warm me and now felt hollow. I held the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white against the receiver. A full house. 5 children. 2 of them toddlers I had met only twice, children who would need constant attention and would not know my house rules. He did not ask if this was okay. He did not inquire about my plans. He told me. He assumed. The stone in my chest grew colder, heavier, anchoring me to the spot. After I hung up with a vague sound of agreement I could not even recall making, I did not cry. A strange, steely calm settled over me, frost over a turbulent pond. I went to the bookshelf in the den, the one filled with photo albums no one but me ever looked at anymore. I pulled out an old leather-bound album, its spine cracked. There on the first page was a picture of me at 28 standing in front of the Eiffel Tower, my hair long and blown by the wind, a smile so wide and carefree it almost hurt to look at. That young woman had dreams that did not involve coordinating snack times and air mattresses. She wanted to see the world, to write poetry, to learn Italian. Where had she gone? I closed the album, the soft thud definitive. The thought that had been a whisper in the back of my mind became a clear, steady voice. What if I am not here, not to be cruel, not to punish, but to survive, to breathe, to remember who I was before I was only someone's mom, someone's grandma. That night, instead of planning menus and making lists for extra groceries, I opened my laptop. My fingers trembled slightly as I typed. Not last-minute Christmas deals, but something else, a word that felt both foreign and deeply right. Volunteer Opportunities Christmas Day. A listing for a community dinner in a neighboring city, serving meals to those alone on the holiday needed kitchen help. I read the description 3 times. It spoke of fellowship, of shared humanity, of quiet service. No one would expect me to be the Christmas miracle worker. I would just be another pair of hands. And I hit the button to sign up. The click of the mouse was the first sound that felt right in days. The next week was a secret operation conducted in plain sight, a performance of normalcy, while my inner world quietly revolted. I moved through my usual pre-Christmas routines, but with a different clandestine purpose. The extra ham and the 20-pound turkey I had ordered from the butcher I called, and with a voice I forced to sound cheerful, changed it to a single small bone and ham. Just me this year, I trilled, the lie sticking in my throat. The beautifully wrapped gifts I had for David, Chloe, Liam, and little Sophia were quietly transferred from under the glittering tree to a sturdy box that I slid into the trunk of my car. When I went to the grocery store, I wandered the aisles, not with my usual list for a feast, but with a new curiosity. I bought single servings of things I liked, but never bought because they were not practical for one. A small, expensive salmon fillet, a tiny carton of real eggnog, a single persimmon because I liked the color. It felt surreal, almost thrilling in a guilty way, like I was a spy in my own life. The guilt tried to creep in, especially when my grandson Liam called on his mother's phone, his sweet 7-year-old voice bubbling with excitement. "Nana, I'm practicing Jingle Bells on the piano for you. I can almost play the whole thing." I closed my eyes against the pang. "I cannot wait to hear it, sweetheart," I said, and I meant it. I pushed the guilt down, not by dismissing my love for him, but by affirming a deeper truth I could not pour from an empty cup. I was running on fumes of obligation. I called my friend Margot that evening. Over a glass of wine, my voice shaking, I told her everything. The overheard conversation, the confirming call, my plan. There was a long, weighty silence on the line. Then she said, her voice soft but firm. "Eileen, it is about damn time. I have watched you turn yourself inside out for them for years. You have become the family concierge. They will not change unless you change the dance." Her words were not just support. They were the permission slip I did not know I needed, signed by someone who saw me clearly. On the morning of December 23rd, as a soft snow began to fall, I packed a small suitcase with warm, practical clothes and my well-worn copy of a favorite novel. I did not leave a note. I simply stood in my pristine, glittering living room, took one long, deep breath of the pine-scented air, and walked out. I locked the door behind me, the click of the deadbolt a period at the end of a very long sentence. I drove towards the city, the snow dusting the windshield, my heart pounding, not with fear, but with a kind of defiant, trembling hope. The community center in the old part of the city was a beautiful, weathered brick building, and inside it was a bustle of warm, purposeful chaos when I arrived on Christmas Eve morning. The air smelled of simmering broth and fresh coffee, not cinnamon and pine, and the difference was jarring and wonderful. No one knew me. No one expected anything from me. I was given a stiff blue apron and put to work at a long stainless steel table next to a woman named Rosa, chopping mountains of carrots and celery for a massive pot of soup. Rosa had kind eyes and a thick accent, and she told me about her grandchildren in Mexico City as her knife flew with practiced ease. The work was physical, simple, and profoundly satisfying. There was a goal: feed 300 people, and my contribution was clear and measurable. No emotional labor, no managing expectations, just the clean slice of a knife through a carrot. That night, instead of fretting over a perfect table setting or timing the casseroles, I sat at a long folding table with Rosa and a few other volunteers. We ate bowls of the soup we helped make with thick slices of bread. No one talked about stressful travel plans, expensive gifts, or difficult relatives. We talked about gratitude for warmth, about quiet moments of grace, about missing loved ones. I spoke of Frank, really spoke of him for the first time in years, without the filter of being someone's mom or grandma. I slept in a modest but clean hotel room a few blocks away. And for the first time in decades, I woke up on Christmas morning with no agenda, no pressure, no performance. I made a cup of tea from the small machine and sat by the window, watching the quiet, empty street below. The peace was so immense, it felt like a presence in the room, a gentle hand on my shoulder. At 10 a.m., as I was tying my shoes to head back to the community center, my phone, which I had kept on silent in my purse, began to vibrate insistently against the wooden nightstand. It was David. Then a minute later again, and again. I finished tying my laces, my fingers steady. I let each call go to voicemail. I listened to the first one as I put on my coat. His voice was tense, edged with a panic I had never heard before, not even when he was a boy. "Mom, where are you? We're at your house. The door is locked. The kids are freezing in the car. We have all the luggage. We need to get on the road for the resort. Call me back immediately." I deleted the message. I picked up my bag. I smiled a real smile that started deep inside. I felt a calm so solid, it felt like the earth beneath me had finally stopped shifting. The full force of their crisis hit my phone in waves of sound and text, a digital tsunami of their unraveling plans. After the first few panicked voicemails from David, came the texts rapid fire and increasingly unhinged, lighting up my screen throughout the day whenever I checked it during a break. From Chloe, her usual polished diction fraying Eileen, "This is not funny. The kids are crying. We have nowhere to go. The resort is overbooked, and they gave away our room. We need to come in." From David, an hour later, "Mom, please. We're sorry if we upset you. Just tell us where you are. We need you. The kids are asking for Nana. We're at a diner and it's a disaster." From Beth, Chloe's sister, a number I did not even have saved, a stranger texting me in anger. "David said you were hosting. We have driven 6 hours with 3 kids. This is unacceptable. We are turning around." I read them all, standing in the bustling, steamy kitchen of the community center, my hands dusted with flour from rolling out pie crusts. Each message was a piece of a puzzle I could now see with perfect, painful clarity, a picture of their elaborate plan in total, humiliating collapse. Their romantic resort weekend was undoubtedly canceled, likely with a hefty penalty. 5 overtired, overexcited children were stranded, probably in a crowded, mediocre hotel lobby or a noisy fast food restaurant. Their promised Christmas wonderland vanished. There was no magical multi-course dinner waiting, no perfectly hung stockings, no patient, all-knowing grandma to manage the overstimulation and meltdowns. I felt a flicker of sympathy, a maternal instinct that was deeply ingrained, quickly followed by a solid, unshakable resolve. This was not my chaos. This was the natural, logical consequence of their assumption, not my punishment. I had not created this mess. I had simply and finally removed myself from the equation they had written for me without my consent. I finished my shift serving slices of warm apple pie and smiles to people who said thank you with genuine tired eyes. Their gratitude was a balm, a real exchange. That evening, back in the quiet of my hotel room, I turned my phone off completely, a deliberate and peaceful act. I spent a quiet night reading my novel, watching the snow fall again outside the window, feeling a peace so deep, it was like remembering a part of my own soul I had long ago misplaced. The drive home on the 27th was long and contemplative. The interstate was clear, the landscapes on either side softened by a blanket of snow, everything clean, still, and hushed. The peace I had found was now a companion sitting in the passenger seat, but I knew it was fragile, a newborn thing that needed protection. The closer I got to my exit, the tighter my hands gripped the wheel. Walking up to my front door, my suitcase rolling behind me on the salted path, I saw him immediately. David was sitting on the top step of my porch, hunched against the cold, his head in his hands. He wore no coat, just a sweatshirt, as if he had left in a hurry. He looked up when he heard the wheels on the pavement. He looked exhausted, younger and older all at once, the way Frank used to look after a 36-hour shift at the hospital. He stood up slowly, stiffly. "Mom." His voice was hoarse, scraped raw. We went inside without another word. The house was just as I left it, clean and quiet, the Christmas tree still glowing. He did not yell. He just seemed utterly deflated, the confident man I overheard a week ago, completely gone. "Christmas was a disaster," he said, not meeting my eyes, staring at the tree as if it were an artifact from a lost civilization. "The kids were devastated. We had to stay in a terrible hotel by the airport. It cost a fortune." Beth and her family turned around and drove home. "She is not speaking to Chloe. Chloe is not speaking to me." I put the kettle on the familiar ritual grounding me. "I am sorry your plans fell apart," I said, my voice even pouring water into the pot. "But David, your plans never included me. They included a character you called Mom, who lives to serve your convenience. I heard you, in your kitchen a week before Christmas. I heard you and Chloe assume I would watch 5 children for 3 days so you two could go to a resort. You never asked. You planned it." He flinched as if I had slapped him. The color drained from his face, leaving it pale and waxy. You were there." His voice was a whisper. "I was there," I said, placing 2 mugs on the counter. And in that moment, I realized I had become an appliance in your life. Reliable, always there, expected to function on demand. You would not plan to use the washing machine for a weekend without checking if it was working. But you planned to use me. He opened his mouth, closed it. He tried to form words to argue, to explain it was a surprise for me too, but the words died in his throat. The truth was too stark, too ugly in the quiet light of my kitchen. The apology he finally uttered after the tea had steeped and the silence had grown thick was the first real one I had heard from him in years. It was not, "I am sorry you are upset." It was, "I am sorry. We were wrong. We were selfish. We took you for granted." It was a start, not a finish, but it was built on truth, not pretense. The real lesson was not in the dramatic confrontation on my porch or the difficult conversation over tea. The lesson revealed itself in the quiet, ordinary weeks that followed, in the subtle shift of the ground beneath our feet. David started calling again, but differently. The presumption was gone. He would ask, "Are you free for a visit this weekend, or is that too much?" He would say, "Can I bring anything for dinner? Pizza, salad?" The question mark, that tiny symbol of uncertainty and respect, felt like a miracle. When Liam and Sophia came over the first time in January, it was for a specific contained project to bake and decorate sugar cookies. We made a glorious mess of flour and rainbow sprinkles. We laughed when Sophia got more frosting on her face than on her cookie. And when they left 2 hours later with their tins of cookies and flushed cheeks, I was tired in a happy, contented way, not the deep soul-crushing depletion I used to feel after a holiday siege. I quietly unsubscribed from the family calendar app where Chloe would post packing lists and schedules for me. I signed up for the watercolor class at the community college that had always intrigued me. My first painting was terrible, a blurry, runny mess of blue and green that was supposed to be a lake but looked more like a bruise. But I loved it. It was mine. My failure, my attempt, my joy in the trying. Margot and I started having weekly lunches at a little French cafe, and we talked about books and politics, and our aches and pains, not just about our families. I learned slowly to sit in Frank's old armchair in the afternoon with a book and a cup of tea, and not feel a single thread of guilt for the stillness for the time spent purely on my own nourishment. This was not about winning a battle with my son. It was about ending a silent, exhausting war I had been waging against myself for years. A war where I constantly sacrificed my own peace on the altar of their convenience, believing that was the price of love. Love, I learned, is not a blank check. It needs boundaries to stay healthy and real, just like a beautiful garden needs a fence to protect it from being trampled. The magic of the holidays I see now is not in the perfect, exhausting performance. It is in the genuine connection, the laughter shared, the quiet understanding, the chosen togetherness. It can be found in a community center kitchen on Christmas Day, just as much as in a living room on Christmas morning. My tree is still up, you know. I never took it down, just for me. And its soft, multicolored lights reflected in the dark window on this quiet winter evening look just right. So tell me in the comments, have you ever had to redraw a boundary with someone you love, perhaps a parent or a grown child? How did it change the rhythm of your relationship for better or for worse? If this story of quiet rebellion resonated with you, please give this video a like to let me know. It meant something. Share your own experiences and lessons. Below your wisdom might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if you are new here, consider subscribing for more stories about finding your way back to yourself, one difficult choice at a time. Thank you for listening, for sharing this time with me. Remember, your time, your peace, your spirit, they are not commodities for others to spend. They are sacred. Protect them. Be well and be kind to yourselves.